kind of the Kennedy tradition is being continued Wednesday. This morning in Hyannisport, Ethel Kennedy had her funeral mass. And on Wednesday, there will be a memorial service here at the cathedral, and for Ethel as well. And it'll be mainly for, the civic dimension of Washington. And so you'll probably hear and see more about that in the press after Wednesday and everything. So that's after I finish with all of you, that's what I'll be doing. Working on that. Okay. Okay, are we okay now? Okay, let's just then, how about there? Okay. Now you'll notice that we call that the high pulpit. And in the early days, even when in my first life here at the cathedral, priests on Sundays preached from up there. And today it's quite different. The cardinal would preach up there like on Christmas, Easter, when the church is packed. But normally, especially now, the cardinal can't because he can't get up steps. And so usually from over here. When that rector I was talking about, who did the renovation and restoration and everything, we asked about the possibility of lowering that pulpit down and to make it a little more accessible. And they only had to tell me the price, and we just said, thank you, but no thank you. So that would have been really something else. Okay.
Any high schools have graduations here
yes.
now?
High schools, not so much now,
yeah.
But yes, we've had high schools graduations here, in my first life especially. And also, there was a school associated with the cathedral, and it was closed in 1969. And
2 years after Notre Dame.
also, just by a piece of history, in the early days of the Archdiocese, the headquarters for the Archdiocese were 3 townhouses on Rhode Island Avenue out here. You walk down the driveway, remember? The first building was the rectory of St. Matthew's. The second building was a building bought by the cathedral. The third was the headquarters for the Archdiocese, and the next one over belonged to the Archdiocese as well. Okay, now, in 1982, Cardinal Hickey was the Cardinal Archbishop, and he wanted to move the headquarters to more space where there's parking and etc. So it's just where it is now. It's out in Hyattsville. And so then there was a plan to put up with a developer an office building. Our neighbors on N Street did not want that office building. They took it to court. They got it through appeals. They kept going. That was late 1980s. But then, in the year 2000, about the year 2000, there were no more appeals left. And so the diocese was told, you can proceed with your plan. Fortunately, one of the auxiliary bishops, who was also the money man, contacted me and said, we're ready to move ahead, but before we do, does the plan, because the plan also included renovation of the 2 buildings, for the cathedral. And is that enough space? And of course, you know what my answer was. No way. So they gave me another building. So fortunately. And what we have now is I have 3 buildings that are strictly St. Matthew's, and then the land and so forth on which the office building was put was a joint effort of the diocese and the parish, and the renovation of our part of the building was done from rental money coming in from that office building. Last November, I paid off the loan. And so now it's a 50-50 complete. The diocese gets 50 of the rent and we get the other part of the rent, which is, as you can imagine, a nice little sum each month. So that helps tremendously. So that fills out this whole block. And like if you go back out and you're counting down, you can go to, the 3rd, that's all St. Matthew's. Then it's the new building that says 1717, and that's where it comes in. Okay? Now, by the way, what time, did you tell the driver anytime?
No, I'll just call him when it's time.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm okay.
you're okay.
I'm okay. It won't go past much 3. I've already talked longer than I've talked.
You have till midnight.
No, I don't. There's a group from down the street coming up.
Oh.
So you'll be talking
Well, we did
more.
bring our sleeping bag.
Okay, anyway. Come with me. And then I'll probably answer. Okay. Why do you think, in most of your churches, and even in churches that have made some changes, some other priests now are changing them back again, is the location of the tabernacle. Okay? So where's the tabernacle?
Of course, when we came in.
That's it. So we're there. So we'll go over there. Here's my question. Why? Now, obviously, that was done, in the changes of the Vatican Council, because remember, Monsignor Lee just had this, and then, so the tabernacle then was over there. So my question, is there any rationale, if you will, for that? And the answer is actually yes, especially for cathedrals. Because cathedrals are recognized that there are a lot of ceremonies with the bishop. There's a lot of roaming around in the sanctuary, a lot of action. And they said, is that really a good idea with the tabernacle? Because the tabernacle, is really a place of devotion and so forth, okay? So therefore, moved it there, and then right out there, you have pews that are right there that can be either sex, But more, so those pews are filled during the day a lot with people with devotion to the Blessed Sacrament. So it just makes more sense. So it's a practical, real reason. Now, some parishes have done that too. There are also priests who are insisting in the middle has to be in and everything. So anyway. Okay. So I might as well ask this one. So I'm asking the tough ones now. Where, and notice what I'm going to say, where is the crucifix?
Oh, I see. One there.
That's the cross. There's your crucifix. So churches, some would say, what is this? There's no crucifix. Oh yeah, we have a crucifix. because in the documents of the church, it talks about a cross. And there's a cross. Most people think of cross and crucifix as being the same. But there's a difference. Yeah. These are just,
Yeah. Kind of interject and also ask a
Yeah.
question at the same time, but you were also in charge of liturgy. So I don't know all the differences myself of pre-Vatican, the other, the
Sure.
two, the transition. You've alluded to some of it, but I have a sense that you are a large part of those changes altogether, especially with the advances that were done here already beforehand and your involvement here. So I just get a sense that there's you've had a hand in the way things were done, like the new way of things being done. So also kind of carries more weight in your understanding of what you're talking about, I guess. So.
Do you have a little signature on anything in here?
Where's your stuffed ham?
That's it.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's go this way now. Oh.
Everybody waves.
You have to. By the way, everybody, that's Fatima. She's our coordinator for the Spanish ministry, especially the Faith Formation program, and it's called "Watch Out for Her" because.
Thank you, Fatima.
Disappear, yeah.
Okay, now this chapel is the Blessed Sacrament Chapel. The Blessed Sacrament Chapel was renovated when I renovated and restored, because most of what I did here was a restoration rather than a renovation. But we did kind of do a little renovation here. The ceiling, we did, you can't quite see it with all the lights on. But we redid that to its original state. They had covered that with like what I call, pardon what I'm going to say now, but it's what I call like a pukey orange. It wasn't very good. And so we brought it back to its original state. Also, what we did, we cleaned this up tremendously. And you notice two things. Number one, the mosaic. The mosaic in here was 1969. 69 was the last date of anything else we had to put in here. So we did the baptistry and the Blessed Sacrament we doing of the chapel here. Just to make it more Blessed Sacrament-like. And so you have here the story of Jesus on the road to Emmaus. You remember that story that Jesus met a couple men, and they were kind of down in the dumps, about hearing about the death of Jesus. And they got going, and then it says when they invited Jesus to have dinner with them, then it says they recognized him in the breaking of the bread. Now, another little tip. Here you have the door to the tabernacle. Now, where have you seen them before? That's right. The four pillars, four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, I'm going to tell you that you will see this again somewhere. But you'll have to tell me when you find it. Okay? It'll be pretty obvious. Now,
Where were the mosaics made? Were they U.S. based or?
a lot of the mosaics and everything, these were done by John DeRozan from New York. But a lot of the work, the sculpture work and everything, part of it was done in Italy.
Italy.
You know, but the exact place of this, you know, some of the things were probably in Italy, but brought over. Yeah, okay. Okay, now, I talked about the archbishops of Washington. Okay? So here are their coat of arms. Now remember Archbishop Curley, the first one, so 1939, because that was the founding of the Archdiocese of Washington, and he died in 1947. And notice, what do you notice that is different from this one and those?
Green.
Huh?
It's green. The color.
The color, right. Because Archbishop Curley did not become a cardinal. So that's green and then red for the cardinals. Okay.
Where's the squirrel? Where's the squirrel?
The squirrel?
Is it in one of those?
Oh, no, not in these.
None of those, okay.
It's on that.
That was just with the angel.
Just with the angel. Okay.
Right.
I included that earlier, but we are working on a clandestine project right now of developing a new coat of arms for the Jameson, modern Jameson family. So learning about other coat of arms
This is the designers.
I have a very basic question. This place is impeccable. It's clean from stem to stern. How large a staff do you have just to keep this place clean?
2 men.
It's unbelievable.
They do a good job. I agree with you 100%. I thought that.
Fantastic.
Oh. Jeez. I can't imagine what they must weigh. There's a bull on the right bottom. There's a bull.
Okay, everyone?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And this
Yeah.
one's like a land
But this was cleaned up tremendously.
conduit.
Dragon.
And then
Conduit.
up top, that part.
Or
was
do
so
you
forth.
think that's a dragon?
Like a maybe eagle, condor.
That's
Yes.
what Michael the Archer.
Right.
Maybe not.
Remember, I pointed out Okay, remember I pointed out the calling of St. Matthew from the tax collector's stand. Now I want to point out his death. So then that mural over there will depict that. The death of Matthew. Okay? Now we're coming to more stories. As you're coming through this entrance,
back here, man. She only do the hair.
Okay, that's right. You are now entering Mary's chapel. As you come in, you'll notice two statues to the left and right. And since it's Mary's statue, you have a statue on your right of St. Anne, and on your left, St. Joachim. Okay? And then, as you come forward, in the middle, you will find our Blessed Mother. Now, I have a question. Have you ever seen a statue of Mary as you see here?
No, she's very progressive in that.
Burn a strike.
Her
That's correct. Your answer is correct. You have not seen one. Back in around 1980, I was here at the time in residence, and at the time, someone who was not too well up here, and the statue that was up there was almost like a plastic blue and white Mary. You know, the traditional kind of, you know, it was nothing fancy, it was plastic, you know, really. But, you know, nothing fancy at all. Anyway, he climbed up and threw it down, and of course, just plastered it. So, fortunately, like I said, I was in residence, so there was another pastor at the time. So he said, well, there's a sculptor, a parishioner, who has a shop just up the street. Let's go and just talk to him. Well, I was happy that he made that decision and didn't just say, let's put up what was there before, because he was a little tight with the money. But he wasn't too bad at getting money. So anyway, we went up and talked to the sculptor, who was named Gordon Cray. And Gordon Cray and I have a real attachment over the years. And so anyway, he said, you know, what do you think? Would you be interested in having the commission to do a statue of Mary? And he said, I would love to. But, he had a but. He said, you cannot tell me a Mary of something. You can't say Mary, the miraculous mother, or a Mary of grace, or even Mary, Mother of God. You can't tell me that. He says, you have to trust just my intuition and so forth. You know. And so then he came back with this. Now, there are a couple stories connected with that. First of all, he said, you know, somebody said, well, why don't you give a title to it? All statues of Mary have titles. He said, I want each individual who sees the statue, give it a title for themselves. Now, what is very interesting, is just a few years after that, there was a study group in Rome studying Mary as the mediatrix of grace. Now, when you say that, mediatrix of grace, it means Mary as the one who mediates that connection between her son, Jesus, and the Father, who is that link, if you will. And someone said that was probably the closest statue to that title. And if they had gone ahead and accepted that from a theological viewpoint and everything, it probably would have been selected. But I'm happy it wasn't selected because Gordon Craig, that was not his intention. You know, he wanted everyone who comes to name that statue and what it means for them. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Oh, September 23rd was here at St. Matthew's, and he addressed all of the bishops of the United States. And I had the great honor of the one to welcome him, and then I always said I felt like the father of the bride because he was dressed in white, and I escorted him down the middle aisle.
Good way to put it.
Okay. And now we're going to kind of go around a bit, and we're going to hit the back.
Hold on here. I'm watching you now, so.
First of all, we got to get some of that.
You all are probably tiring out by now. Okay, back there, you need to come in a little more. Maybe not totally, but somewhere. Okay. Okay, first of all, this particular area, up until 1969, did not exist. And so in 1969, the last part of the cathedral was built, was the baptistry itself. Okay, now, when you came in, a very unusual sight. When you came in, if you look on the left, so what did you see? What did you see?
On the window?
Huh?
The windows. The stained glass windows.
Stained glass windows, thank you. But, have you seen stained glass in the cathedral? No. There is no stained glass windows in the cathedral. And the windows here are stained glass, but it is special type of stained glass called Loire glass from France. It's big chunks of colored glass.
How do you spell that?
Loire. Loire. And it's from Loire, France. And John de Rosen was the architect of this particular part of the cathedral. Totally different. Totally different. And the one who put them here, the priest, the pastor at the time, was one of the most conservative guys you could find. So many, couldn't figure out exactly why. But the idea for him was that this is the site of new life. Baptism, new life, and this colored glass, because we pick up very nicely right now, for example, the sun pouring in. And so it was kind of that theology, if you will. Also, in that just a few years ago, you see behind you 3 oils. During Holy Week, the Archbishop blesses 3 oils. The oil of chrism that is used for baptisms, ordinations, confirmation. You have the oil of the sick for the anointing of the sick, and then the oil of infants, which is baptism. So those 3 oils are blessed by the Archbishop, these particular ones by Cardinal Gregory during Holy Week. And so the beautiful noir glass, though, I think, is something that really stands out and says something in itself. In other words, you don't need saints in stained glass to say something, but on the contrary, something about, what is happening itself. Also, in conjunction with baptism, over here you have the angel in the scriptures, the angel coming down and stirring the waters. And those who were to be healed came and were healed in the waters. And there you have about the angel of the waters, Narcissus. So, and this was also John DeRosen of New York who put that together. Now, another very interesting one is this one. Now, this one is St. Matthew baptizing an Ethiopian. Now, why is that so interesting?
Wasn't part of it wasn't part of the St. Mary's Brown Town.
That's right. She said it's not a part of it. It's not a part of Scripture. That is good. I'm very
Thank you.
Go back to St. Mary's Brown Town. You tell Father all of you. So this is not in Scripture, but it's through a tradition and different writings of tradition, but not in Scripture itself. So, but it's very, very dramatic in the sense of also an Ethiopian. And, it wasn't someone around Italy or anything, but for to be an Ethiopian was really unheard of. So that's why this particular mosaic is very striking. Whereas, baptism is open to all, where Christ receives all, and that is what, through the sacrament of baptism. So this chapel is really, something else. Now, no one has said anything. Remember, I said you had to show me?
Did we pass it already?
Oh, come on, people. Thank you. There we go. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
On the baptism.
But what else do you see? See, you have to really stick with me on these things. What else in here you should recognize? The marble, which is saying,
Yeah, matches the
as the altar.
altar, yes.
Notice how in this cathedral there are many things connected. They're not just put here because somebody liked it. There was a rationale behind all of this, the connection. And so that's why it takes a longer time to come here and see it, because it's so much more than just looking at particular sites. Now, we're down. Let others at least get their brain inside. You can come back in here a little bit.
So this is what
I'm about there.
Slide in here.
Come on back here some, and then you can kind of get a double whammy. Well, we're going to just kind of switch. I'll do kind of the same what I'm going to say. Then those here, come here, you can go up there. Okay. Okay. Now, blessing of the Lord be with you. Okay, as you come in. In here, in this particular section, two things I want to mention. Look at the windows.
One thing that's different.
Just plain colored glass. Remember what chapel this is? St. Francis. Think of Francis, poverty. Now, also, it is the location of the burial site, the crypts of the archbishops. And so 3 have already died. So we have Cardinal Boyle, Cardinal Hickey, and Cardinal Batten. Okay? And over here it says, Hic locus sanctus est, as you walk in there, which says, here is a holy place. Okay, now this group's going to come in, you're going to come out so you can see this, and then I'll try to get everybody in here.
Don't want to miss a thing.
Okay, after everyone has seen the crypts and so forth, they can come back in here. So there's plenty of room back here now. People aren't even back in here. On the sides here, the space on both sides. I have room up here too.
Yeah.
Come on. I want to get over here. See where he's on the phone.
I'm sorry.
He wants you in the front.
Oh, in the front.
You have to be able to see.
How do you do it?
If you're not going to see, if there's something up here, you have to see. Okay, now, we said that this is the total place of the St. Francis Chapel. And so therefore, it's obvious that you're going to see Francis, right? The painting right up here, the mural, is Francis receiving the stigmata. Remember, Francis received the handprint of the nails and feet, as Jesus had nails there, you know, and that's called the stigmata. And Francis received the stigmata. Okay? Over here, in different writings of Francis, we hear a lot about, you know, sister poverty or different ones of humility and so forth. And they're symbolized by, you know, Francis off being flown off, you know, with them and taking them up and so forth. You know. So, in other words, the virtues of Francis. Also, you can see like the 3 women down there in the corner, they represent the 3 virtues. And then the mural right behind me, you have Francis and St. Clare at the foot of the cross. In the writings of Francis and Clare, there's a lot of talking about, you know, their impression and so forth about if they were there at the foot of the cross. And so this one just shows both of them at the same time, because they were both very close in life itself. Okay? This chapel also being Francis. So the windows are just plain glass, colored. Also, there is no heat or air conditioning in this chapel. And the reason is St. Francis. Okay? Now, as we're going out, before we have the final chapel, which is the chapel of St. Andrew. But before we get to the chapel, as you're going out, look in the middle pews. On the floor. You have to tell me what you see. In the pews, you're going to tell me what that is. But we'll do that after we get up here. Stop here. Just span out this way.
Try to pull this together.
Before you look at the chapel, you're going to see something out here.
Put this on the Facebook page.
You might have to do little segments of it.
It's going to be long.
Yeah. I won't tell you how many times I've done that. Yeah, just out of this area first before we do anything else. Okay, in the pews, what do you see? Huh?
Little round holes.
Round
They're heat
what?
ducts.
What are they?
Heat ducts.
Heat ducts.
AC.
Yeah. Well, let's put it.
No.
Hold on. That's yes and no. In the early days, yes. That's where the cathedral was heated from.
Wow.
Downstairs was the heat coming up through those grates. Okay? Well, what happened when a whole new heating system was put in? So what are you going to do with them? So the architect and everyone was thinking, what on earth? What's going to happen to them? How are we going to cover them up? We don't need them anymore. So what was the decision? Leave them.
Oh, I think.
Correct? Why? But why? Where's my why?
Circulation.
Exactly. Circulation. Air kind of flows down there. And that way you get some circulation. Good. Okay, now we can, not yet. Over here. Another story.
To see if it is.
Okay, folks, who's this? John Paul II. So, we talked about, these are my threesome. I talked about, who have I seen? Mother Teresa.
John Paul.
Pope John Paul and Mary.
Pope Francis.
Pope Francis.
And now, John Paul. Okay, now, the other two were rather obvious. So when did I see John Paul? Anyone? Any close?
Early 80s.
Huh?
70s or early 80s.
Yep. In fact, October 6th, October 7th,
He was here around Reagan.
1979.
79. Right.
In October the 6th, 1979, he was here. He had Mass for all of the priests of the Archdiocese and a few others. At that time, for a little bit more of history of me. So I was made the director of the Office of Worship on September the 8th, 1973. In 1975, I was pulled out for a special assignment in Philadelphia for 18 months for the 41st International Eucharistic Congress. It was an international program in the Eucharist, and I was responsible for developing a program for all parishes throughout the United States. So that was in from April of 75, and then in August of 76 was the big celebration in Philadelphia. And my work up there for 18 months was divided 3-3-3. The first 3 months was developing that program. I had a big committee and so forth, you know. And Cardinal Kroll was the Archbishop at the time. And Cardinal Kroll was a character, to say the least. And so when I first got there, I had just gotten there, and they said, well, you have to give him a budget. You have to tell him how much you need. I said, I have no clue. I said, I haven't even started yet. And so there was a bishop working on the conference as a number 2 man. I said, okay, what should I ask for? He said, I don't know. He said, just ask for $1 million. I said, blah, 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 blah. So we're in his office, you know, and Cardinal Kroll, well, now, Father Jameson, you know, well, what do you think? How much will we need? You know, blah, 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 you know. Yeah. How about $1 million, Your Eminence? Oh, okay. So he gets on the phone, and he's dialing, you know, or punching a button, or whatever, in those days. Hello, John? He was talking to John McCain, not the, not that McCain. This was a builder, big builder, you know, and so forth. Yeah, Father Jameson's sitting here, you know, he's going to do this program, but, you know, we need a little funding for it, you know. Yeah, you know, maybe about $1 million. Oh, tomorrow morning? Okay.
Wow. Oh,
I could have gone through the floor. So anyway, that's part of that story with international. Okay, so that was 75, big deal in 76. In 76, I was the one responsible to take the representative of Rome, you know, kind of just to pull him along so he got to the right place. I had one little Monsignor that I almost lost. He kept, you know, doing this, almost got lost. Then, when I got back, the fall of 76, then I finally came back, started up the office again, working and so forth. So that was 76. And then in 78, remember then one of the popes died, John Paul II is named the pope, and soon afterwards he says, I'm coming to America. And so